Born in Haiti, Lunide Louis migrated to New York City when she was 10 years old. She spent 12 years in Boston, Massachusetts, where she received her bachelor's and master's degree in organizational psychology. Today, Lunide lives in sunny San Diego, California, a move that she had made back in 2011 to pursue her doctorate in organizational psychology and leadership. Lunide is the host of the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. This podcast is the first of its kind. The show is dedicated or devoted to discussing practical morning routines. She chats with entrepreneurs and thought leaders in their respective fields on how their morning habits contribute to their health and success. As a revered MBA professor, Lunide has taught business intelligence, data mining, and project management courses at CSPP in San Diego, California for the past 5 years. In addition to being an esteemed entrepreneur, an MBA professor, and a SAP systems implementer, Lunide runs full marathons and triathlons as well to stay physically fit. She reads over 50 business books every year to stay mentally fit also. And at the age of 32, Lunide completed a half Ironman. It's a 70.3 mile triathlon. She had to learn to swim for that one. And the race consists of 1.2 mile swim, a 56 mile bike ride, and a 13.1 mile run. Dr. Louis embraces challenges, and that's why she's on the podcast today. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm here with Lunide, and I've actually been on Lunide's show, and it was a great opportunity, and I loved her personality. I loved her energy and atmosphere, and I really wanted her to come on my show so we could have a conversation about what she does, and I think she's a perfect fit for what we try to get after here, and that's true success, because I think once you hear her story, you're going to be amazed. Lunide, welcome to the show, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Kirby. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And yes, you were such a phenomenal guest on my show. I had to see you again. So here we are.
Awesome. So tell me, so as you know, we all begin somewhere in life, and could you kind of explain like how you grew up, how your life started out, and how you
Sure.
kind of got to where you are today?
Yeah, certainly. So it started out in a third world country out in the Caribbean. So I'm from an island, Haiti, third world country, and it is majestic, beautiful. It's tropical. We were talking about Florida earlier, south of Florida, and there's a lot of Haitians in Florida. And so we tend to migrate to either Florida or to New York. And so that's what happened with my mom and three other siblings. I was the oldest. And so 1995, we packed up. I was 10 years old, left the beautiful island of Haiti and migrated to frigid, cold New York in February 1995. It was brutal. Talking about culture shock. We froze our high knees off that night because we were not dressed for New York weather at all. But that's how the journey began. And it was just like one adventure after another. And from New York, I traveled over to Boston where I stayed with my grandmother, and I did my bachelor's there. I did my master's. And then in 2011, I came over to San Diego, sunny San Diego, America's finest city, for my PhD. And I have been here ever since. And really, that's how it really started for me, was that thirst for knowledge.
Hmm.
And that's why I got the PhD, because I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to be in business, and I wanted to work with executives, and I wanted to do executive coaching at some point. And so I needed a PhD to get to that level. So I went ahead and pursued it. But being in this great land, that's the opportunity, right? Education. But I had to learn. After I graduated, I could not find work and had degrees and debt. And so I realized, and just because you come and you get an education doesn't mean that you have made it. And so I had to do a lot of self-development, a lot of reading, Think and Grow Rich type of self-development. And that actually changed me from a corporate America to actually owning my own business and running my own business today. So it's been a joy. A
Yeah,
ride.
that's a phenomenal story. I think one of the things that you reminded me of right there when you talked about the knowledge and the education uh, goes back to the 80s when I used to watch a cartoon. It was called G.I. Joe, the Great American Hero. And at the end, they always said, knowing is half the battle. And then I always say, well, knowing is only half the battle, but taking action is the other half of the battle. And it sounds like you took a lot of action. I mean, you seized an opportunity that was before you. And I think that some of us, like me, my family's been over here since prior to the American Revolution. And so I kind of look around sometimes and I'm like, people are missing out on these humongous opportunities. And after 25 years in the military, I knew lots of immigrants who had come to this country to join the military so they could have an opportunity to live here. And I'm like, you have no idea, like the people's desires and the dreams that they have. And that dream is still alive. When they say the American dream, I was like, people still have that desire. So I really do appreciate that. And I think your story is phenomenal. Please tell me a little bit about what it was like in Haiti, though, if you can remember. I know you were 10 years old, but if you can remember a little bit about what was it like there growing up?
Poverty. No running water. That you get it's poverty. People are living in shacks, and post the earthquake, surprisingly, we're still living in shacks because when the country's in so much debt. So we're looking at, everybody is in the marketplace. I call them entrepreneurs at heart, but everybody's just trying to make a living. And so that's what Haiti is like. It's the hustle and bustle of selling whatever you can get your hands on, cooking to sell, but everyone's in the marketplace. My grandmother was an entrepreneur. She was in the marketplace. My mother, again, selling in the marketplace. And my dad actually was a tailor. So he made clothing, and that's how he made his living, was making clothes for us, the kids, but also for the community. And he sold that. So there's that entrepreneur bug has been in there and instilled, but it would have been very hard to actually pursue the education that I did if I didn't come to this great country, right? Or them to have the opportunity to decide, okay, I've got the American corporate job, the picket fence. How about I step on my own, take that leap of faith, take that action, and see if I can control more of my destiny. And that's what really took me to the next level, is that mindset.
Yeah, I can see where the entrepreneurial spirit come from. I mean, I can understand, where you're coming from. I was in Egypt for a year and I watched people there, they really had to work and grind and do a lot of things just to survive throughout the day, to provide for their families. So, I mean, and you don't have the jobs, the opportunities that we would have here, where, you have these big corporate companies who hire, and we have the employment opportunities here. So it's interesting that you talk about that because, it's currently, at the time where we're recording this, we're having this huge unemployment crisis in this country, but people like you are showing up, showing that, hey, look, if you put in the work, you put in the time, you can have everything that it is that you desire. So I really do appreciate that. What I'm really interested in is you came from that climate and you came here and you said it was much of a culture shock. What was it like as a 10-year-old girl looking up and seeing these huge buildings? You said that you had grew up in, a shack and, in the marketplaces, and now you've just emerged into this big market called the Big Apple. So
yeah, the Big Apple indeed. And it was the culture shock. It was the weather. I saw snow for the first time. I looked up and I was like, what is that white stuff coming from the sky? what is that about? Nobody told me about this. And but that screamed opportunity. You know how when you learn something new, no one's are fired. So more knowledge, more curiosity is picked. And so
Mhm.
that's what took place for me. It was like, okay, so these sky scrapers, how do they build
Mhm.
that? And just all these questions, and need to learn it all and have this grand opportunity. When I came in, it was super early in the morning. I remember it was like 4:30 in the morning, and I've associated early risers, early morning to success at 10 years old. That was my big takeaway. I was like, I'm getting up at 2 a.m. I'm getting ready to get on a plane to a new land, new opportunity. I arrive, it's still dark out
Mhm.
and people are still asleep. So I have this thing where I need to get up early if I want to get ahead. I have to get up early to succeed. And so that's really, you say morning routine kind of birthed out of that as well. It's like what happens in those wee hours when the rest of the world is still sleeping, and what these entrepreneurs are saying. So total culture shock, but I wanted to learn everything and fast. I actually taught myself how to speak English, Kirby,
Oh,
believe it or
wow.
not. Believe it or not, I somehow got a handle on those books where at the back of it
Mhm.
says, fill out your information, put your card number, and we'll send you a free book every week. Well, I found my grandfather's information. I put that in there, and I was getting the books by the month. I was getting 20 books. And I would sit in my room and read. And they weren't the best things to read. They were like romance novels. 10, 11 years old reading romance novels. And somehow just reading out loud and reading those novels, I was able to pick up the English language a lot faster. I tricked my grandfather one time. He called the house, and he was playful that way. He called the house and says, hello, may I please speak to Marie, who's my
Mhm.
mom's name? And I responded, I pick up the phone and I was like, I'm sorry, Marie is not here. Can I take a message? He was dumbfounded. He was like, do I have the wrong number? Did I call the right house? Who's speaking to me in English right now?
No, that's a good story. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I'm sure you had some aspirations, as a little girl, and it may have changed too. You're in Haiti, and you probably imagined that you were going to grow up to do something or be something or do something, and then when you came to America, maybe that changed a little bit too. What was it that you thought you wanted to do, and how has that changed today? And what have you kind of is any major significance, shifts left or right?
From the mentality from being in
Yeah,
Haiti? Oh,
you
yeah,
as
of
you grew up,
course.
you probably, like me, when I was young, I wanted to be a baseball player, and somehow that translated into the military, then entrepreneurship and coaching, and so how has that kind of gone for you?
Yes. Yes, a very good question. So in Haiti, it's very hard to think
Mhm.
of the self-actualization, right? The
Mhm.
Maslow hierarchical chart talks
Okay.
about having your physiological needs met. And that's the basics: food, shelter, family, and then you kind of move on: belonging, work, and then self-actualization. Well, in Haiti,
Mhm.
when you are just worried about where can I get my next meal, it's hard to think about, I want to be a doctor one day. I want to run this company one day. You're just simply thinking, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to find food for today.
Mhm.
So in Haiti, that what I wanted to do was be able to sell in the marketplace, whatever, just like my grandmother, just like my mother, is to be able to have something that I can sell to everyone else and feel like I'm adding value that way. Now, when I landed in New York City, 2 months in New York City, I was like, oh, lid popped off. I can be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. How can I go about becoming a
Yeah.
doctor? Because that was status. That if you're a doctor, you have education, you don't have to live in poverty. You don't have to live in a one-bedroom apartment with 9 people in Brooklyn, New York
Yeah.
anymore. You can have your own condo, you can have your own car, and you have status and you have options. So
Mhm.
I set out at 10 years old. I said, I'm going to be a doctor because that will give me that success I thought I needed at the time and that I'm looking for. And so that's the shift from selling in the marketplace, making less than $1 a day, to wanting to be a PhD, a doctor that actually helps people with their mindset.
Yeah, you mentioned your a couple times about your grandparents and the market selling and your parents and things like that. Now, what lessons did they teach you that you still carry with you today? Because it sounds like they were very influential.
Hard work. Hard work, Herbie.
Yeah.
Work hard. That notion you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
applying yourself.
Hmm.
That notion of actually taking action. That's what it was. Don't expect to be taken care of. Actually go out and do the work. And so that the value that I learned from my grandparents and my own mother is you have to roll up your sleeve and get the work done. Really influential in my life today in having to go from corporate America to entrepreneurship. It really has steered my direction to know that it's okay to pull 12, 15-hour days
Hmm.
because it's worth doing well. It's about adding value and substance.
Hmm. No, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I mean, that's an awesome nugget of wisdom right there. Uh, as we continue on, so you're here, you've got some education. How did you get into your line of work that you're doing now?
Remember I said I wanted to be a doctor?
Yeah.
At 10 years old, I was picturing what a doctor would look like and feel
Hmm.
like, and I
Okay.
wanted to be a psychologist. That's what I
Mm.
wanted to do. I wanted to help people with mental health. And
Mm.
that came from a very deep place for me, Kirby, because at a young age, I was abused, sexually abused.
Mhm.
And so there was a need for me to help those who have gone through what I went. And so I sought out to study psychology, to help mental health, to help with PTSD, and that has evolved over the years. And I got into I got my master's in psychology, started working with the population, and then I realized, okay, maybe I want to do executive coaching. So I went into organizational psychology, and now I'm actually working with world leaders where I teach them about habits as a PhD. So it morphed over the years, but I am still that doctor I wanted to be at 10 years old.
No, that's awesome, and I love that you shared that with us. And I have personal experience too because my mother had been a victim of sexual violence, and for a couple years in the military, I was an advocate and a program manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I just recently interviewed John Krotek, who wrote a book about poetry about self acceptance from his childhood abuse as well.
Mm.
And so I just want to say that I want to thank you for sharing, that piece with us, because I think it's very powerful that when people, like yourself and John, they come forward and they talk about their experiences. I think it's not only is it's powerful for you because it's empowerment, because you get to share your story and you get the
Mm-hmm.
healing process from that, but also it inspires other people to kind of come forward as well. And I think that's really important. And anybody that's out there that may be listening to this may have had a traumatic experience, and you're just, I encourage you to come forward and, tell your story in a safe place, where you can get support. And I think that there's this thing called post-traumatic stress growth, where I've become a big fan of it because I went through my own traumatic experiences as well. And what I found was that, despite the tragedy, we can become triumphant,
Oh, yeah.
through that tragedy, and we can grow from that experience and become stronger than what we were before. And
It's
so there's
liberating.
hope and optimism there. And I hope, people can hear that and feel that and see that. So what is it about yourself that you learned during your line of work when you started to explore this?
Yeah, I was riddled with what I call automatic negative thoughts.
Mhm.
Those nagging voices that says you are not enough, that you can't do it, I am not capable, I am used goods, good damaged good, and all that. Though I realized I was riddled with so much of that and needed to do the deep work to actually come work on reprogramming the subconscious mind.
Mhm.
That's where a lot of the work
Mm.
started. Because if I was to tell you, Kirby, that you are on autopilot, would you believe me?
Oh, I certainly would, because I get that counseling background, so I have a little bit of understanding of psychology. So,
We operate out of that subconscious mind 95% of the time. Every day, where we're doing the same habits, the same rituals, talking to the same people, we're actually having the same thoughts we had yesterday. If that's the case, how in the world can we create a new reality with the same thoughts that we had from yesterday?
Yeah.
It's going to be the same thing. So I personally was riddled with those, and I had to go in and actually start changing that with affirmations and doing some type of like even play therapy. At my age, I found myself finding ways to actually bring back the childhood, and it's by watching cartoons and says realizing and saying, it's okay. It wasn't your fault. It happened, but you are stronger for it. It contributes to the woman that you are today. It makes you stronger. And so that self-talk had to begin to take place for healing to start happening. And so just as you said, Kirby, I do encourage everyone, anyone listening, that it's okay. It's liberating to talk about it. It's freeing, because once you start doing that, it's a form of healing within itself, actually.
Yeah, I discovered that even through, when I was going through Liberty University and I was getting my master's in counseling, I had to do some studies on narrative therapy, and just that storytelling process just seemed to be extremely powerful for people. And then you learn to begin to tell your story the way you see it, rather than other people telling you your story, and then you repeating what they have communicated to you. And so I find that interesting, that narrative therapy, it really says is that people aren't the problem. The problem is a problem, and we treat it as a problem, but we treat people as the solution to the problem. And most of us have the solution within us. We just need powerful people like yourself to kind of help pull it out of us and say, okay, here's the solution, here's the path forward. So I appreciate that. What about your experiences that you've had that has helped you see your gifts or talents or skills a little bit more clearly, and kind of helped you transition into the role that you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been more prominent in the over the past several years, and it's situations that I get into where, like, my genius zone. I feel I'm in my genius zone when I am helping others see their power, when I'm helping others see their true capabilities, right? So a lot of us, like I said, we're on autopilot every day. We need a wake up call. We need a pick me up. So I find it in my past experiences, be it at work, and for me it's a more an adventure side of me that comes out, right? I will run marathons. At 32 years old, I never heard of a triathlon before, but my friend was doing one and I thought that was cool, so I'm going to sign up. I signed up, did not know how to swim. So at 32 years old, I had to learn how to swim. And that experience humbled me, because I had to go learn at the rec center with the 5-year-olds, because that's literally where I was starting, from the bottom.
Yeah.
And it humbles me to know that I'm curious and ready to learn, but also it's never too late to learn. It's never too late to grow. It's never too late to develop. So those experiences just kind of taps into my capability, my full potential, what I'm capable of. I didn't know that unless I signed up for this triathlon. And even through that experience, when I thought I have graduated from the kiddie pool to the medium-sized pool, I go join the YMCA, 5 a.m. going out there to swim before work. The coach tells me, "You're slowing everyone down. I'm going to ask you to leave."
Oh, no.
I left that day, but I came back the following day. I said, I have a race in less than a month. I have to swim a mile in 0.2. And if I don't do it within an hour, I disqualify from a half Ironman, 70 plus miles. And the next day I showed up relentless. That's showing me how relentless I am. Like, I'm determined. Let's do this. Yeah. He had to call the director to actually get me out of the pool. That did not slow me down or did not stop me. I went on a month later to actually completing that swim in 58 minutes. I made it. I made the cutoff and was able to continue with the rest of the triathlon. So a triathlon is a 1.2 mile swim, 56-mile bike, and it's a half marathon run. So 13.1 run at the end. And I accomplished that. But it wasn't just that accomplishment. It was that if I can do this, what else can I do?
Yeah. That's
That's
a story of incredible perseverance. And I want to congratulate you on the Ironman because there's not that many people who have done that. And you learn to swim from not knowing how to swim. And despite the challenges and obstacles, you continue to persevere. So, yeah, that's Lunide. I really do appreciate that story. It's a powerful story. And so from that story, like, so what's next for you after that? So, you've pushed your boundaries, right? And you've probably most people, when I say I run ultra marathons and I run 50 miles, they say I'm crazy. And so I'm sure you've heard people say, you're crazy. And so what's next for you?
What's next for me is actually working with high-level entrepreneurs, trailblazers who really want to push that bar.
Okay.
Really want to take their business to the next level. And I do so by actually teaching them about habits, what their habits are, what their principles are, what successful people in the field like yourself are doing. You came on my show and shared with me your success story and how you're thriving and what your goals are. And I want to be able to share that. Like you have the research, right? Success leaves clues. And I have the opportunity to actually help people change their habits, to change their lifestyle, to change their behavior. And it's phenomenal because I really cover the science, why our brain form habits and the science behind our habits. So that's my focus right now. And I am obsessed with it. I'm like a geek in hitting the books and reading about neuroscience and psychology and understanding more and more the human behavior, because I want to help everyone understand the fact that, habits are formed to solve your problems. It's really simple. They are there to relieve you of some stress, so some type of discomfort.
So yeah, you say that you're obsessed with it and you kind of geek out over it, and it seems to be the popular term today that we use. You have this thing called 9 habits and 9 minutes, I think it is, or 9 minutes and 9 healthy habits. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, you're talking about the Hit Savers app that was launched post the podcast, because I've been collecting all this data, and there are 9 actionable items that entrepreneurs are doing over and over again. Reoccurring themes, including yourself, Kirby. So I had to put it all in an app for everyone to have access to. So that's the Hit Savers app. And Hit Savers stands for, it's an acronym. Each letter stands for a habit. And it's 9 actionable items done in 9 minutes to hack your morning, to improve the quality of your day. It doesn't get any simpler than that. That's my mission, is to make morning routines simple and achievable for everyone. So the first one, and it is my morning routine, and you will see that a lot, some of it are your morning routine as well, because you were part of that research. And so first one is hydration. Drinking water first thing in the morning, the importance of that. It's like literally the brain is 73% of water. So it's imperative to hydrate and help get rid of toxins built up overnight, but also it get rid of brain fog in the morning. So hydrating really kicks the metabolism and gets your day started. That's hydration in the Hit Saver. You want me? I can go on and give you the layout of each.
No, that would be fine. It sounds like this. It sounds like a super app. Like you're having a superfood in the morning, and it's just incredible. It sounds like an ingredient to me. You've come up with these 9 different things. So to have incredible success, just to kind of start your day out, because I'm a big fan of having that glass full as you start your day, or filling it up first and then going out into the world and taking on whatever it is. So yeah, please go ahead and, explain some of the more of the Lifesaver Hit Saver app.
Yes. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You hit it on the nail. Essentially, it's priming yourself for the day so you can show up. How do you show up in your world? How do you show up in your life? How do you show up to your employees? How do you show up to your coworkers? How do you show up to your kids? And you have to spend that time to prime yourself, take care of yourself first thing in the morning so that you are better to everyone else. And so with I am grateful for. I love this. You know, what are list 3 things you're grateful for? And for me, I can think on top of my head is running water. I'm coming from a place with no running water, right? So clean running water out of the faucet. So I'm grateful for that. You list 3 things and you outline 3 things you want to work, you want to prioritize for the day. That's in the journal. And the notion is you can do each of these in a minute. That's how you're going to really hack the day, especially if you don't have time. But you'll realize the more you do it, the more you want to spend more time in it because you're getting the benefits right away with doing these. So a T in the hit savers is time's up. Get your hiney out of bed and make it. You're military. You know, I don't even have to go into details, right? With make your bed. You got to make your bed because it helps you accomplish the first task of the day. You're feeling productive already. You've accomplished your first thing of the day. Making your bed gives you that feeling. Silence, meditation, calming the brain down. Remember those ants we're talking about. This is a great time to observe them and know that they're there and realize they're there, but they're not you. They're not who you are. Remember, we identified the problem, isolate the problem, but you're not the problem. And so silence, meditation gives you that opportunity. And from there, it's the affirmations. How do you eradicate those negative thoughts? By saying the I am affirmations. I am powerful. I am deserving. I am worthy. Anything you put after the words I am becomes your reality because it's a powerful statement. A lot of us are walking around with a tape in our head saying, I'm stupid, I'm silly, I'm not enough, or this sucks, I can't make money. I'm not beautiful, this is not gonna work. That's our programming. That is our current programming. This was my current programming as well. And so the affirmations, you have to be able to speak to yourself as if you're speaking to a lover or you're speaking to a loved one. You gotta rephrase it. It's imperative to start the day with affirmations and positive affirmations. And from affirmations, we jump into visioneering. So visualization, manifestation, like what do you want to accomplish, not just for today, in 5 years, in 10 years, in the next month, but you want to be able to, visioneering is, there's a twist to it because you are anchoring a positive emotion to the goal you want to accomplish. And that tells the brain, the mind, that you've already accomplished it because you're already feeling the joy. You're already feeling the accolade. You're already feeling the woman you will become or the man you will become once it becomes a reality for you. So that's visioneering. It's thinking of positive emotions and anchoring it to your new goal. Then from visioneering, we are moving on to exercise. My favorite part, I get up, I go for a 3-mile run, I do yoga, whatever it is. Exercising gets the blood flow going. Anything, even if you could do just 20 push-ups to get the heart rate up, that will help with the wakefulness that you need. And then we're looking at R, which is for reading. Reading stimulates the mind. Again, self-growth, development, especially if you're a business owner. And then there is the last one is for shower. Making the last 60 seconds of your shower ice cold. Ice cold. Really give you that jolt, that wakefulness that you need in the morning. And that is Hit Savers. This is my morning routine. And Kirby, I know meditation is one of yours. I know journaling is one of yours as well in the morning. And gratitude is pretty big for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can incorporate a lot of those things. I know that I get up in the morning, I do some of the exercise. Actually, I swing a mace around. It's an old traditional form of training. And I swing that around to kind of get my body loosened up, and then I actually ride a bike for about 4 miles and 4.5 miles in the morning and then another 4.5 miles in the afternoon. But I do the water. I do the ice cold bath. So I do take a warm shower. I shave in the morning. I get myself cleaned up. And then right before I get out, I always turn it on cold and sit there as long as I can, as much as I can, and to tolerate it. Because I know that the way it shocks the body, it has, some positive health effects. So, I mean, there's a lot of things in there when you were talking about it, I could resonate with it. So I years and years and years, I started to add these things like get up and just make your bed, get your first win out of the way, and the I am statements is so powerful. I mean, I cannot tell you how powerful that's been for me over my lifetime, is to change things, to switch them from, you're not good enough, and you focus more on the nerves and the other things, before you get up and speak in front of a group. And, you can instantly pull yourself down, and then it was, oh, I am powerful. I can do this. I can. And you focus more on me and what you're capable of and what you can control.
Yeah.
And then you end up becoming more successful because of the frame of mind that you've changed. So that's I mean, extremely helpful, I think, for most people. And so tell us, like, where can we find this Hit Saver app?
Yeah, Hit Savers app is on both Android and Apple Store.
Mm-hmm.
So the iOS and the Google Play Store. And it's if you just Google, if you type in Hit Savers, it will pop up, and Lunide Louis will be under it. But also on my website, you can find the links there. If you go to Lunide Louis / Hit Savers app, you will find links to both platforms as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Lunide. So as we move into the last segment of the interview here, or the conversation, so here's the big question is where do you see yourself in 10 or maybe even 20 years? Maybe you've thought that far out, because you talked about visioneering. And so I'm a big proponent of it. And most people don't think past the end of the year with the resolutions and some things, but I'm a big proponent of having a direction. It may not be a specific destination, but you have maybe a direction that you want to be in. So where do you think that's going to be at in the next 10 or 20 years?
Yeah, next to 20 years. Successful business where I'm adding value. And so I want to be able to, by year 5, going into 7, 500 people that I've personally worked with one-on-one, 500,000. 500,000 people that I've personally have worked with one-on-one in building those habits and reframing and reprogramming the mind for success. That's my goal in 5 to 10 years. And beyond that, it's having the successful business, but holistic, right? Healthy all around, mental, physical, and financially, just being healthy. And that can vary, that can change for people, but I'm intentional about that. Because you don't want to wake up with backaches, right? Yeah. 20 years from now. So I'm intentional about all around health.
Yeah, I think what you said is important too, because I think we have to focus on our health early on, and it's something we don't focus on till later on. And so we kind of get that backwards. It's kind of like finances, right? Most people spend now and save later, when we should save now and then spend later.
And then reap later.
Yeah, so sometimes, as we get into this life, we hit adulthood and corporate America and all these other things, it just takes off and spans. We forget about the most important things of our life. And I think you've hit on most of them already today is talking about those 9 healthy habits that somebody can develop in 9 minutes. When it comes to success, right, we all have our own definition. But when it comes to success, I always like to kind of try and get a grasp on that intrinsic success, which I kind of frame as true success. You can have all the titles and all the accolades and all the achievements and trophies you want. Like you hit the Ironman. I've got a bunch of marathon or medals behind me. But that's not what true success is. So what is true success for you?
I am intrinsically motivated. No one can really drive me the way I drive myself or push myself, as you can see. So that success to me is generational wealth. Coming from Haiti, having nothing, and even coming to America and struggle, still living in poverty, and watching my grandparents and watching my mom still in poverty because of the language barrier, or don't have the education to get the top management job. So for me, it's generational wealth. The curse stops with me. that ends. Poverty ends with me. So I want to be able to build that, not just for myself, for my kids, for my nieces and nephews, for everyone coming beyond me. And it has already started. I have nieces and nephews that, because Lunide graduated with her PhD, they're considering, well, I can be a doctor then.
Mm-hmm.
I can be an attorney. So it's not just monetary, right? We're talking about breaking strongholds in families, in my family, breaking that lack mentality, that fixed mentality of I wasn't born here, so I don't have the same privileges. Breaking that barrier so you can say, you are the opportunity. You have that decision, you have that choice. And so we're talking about generational wealth, Kirby. And it starts with not just monetary, but we're talking about mental, again, holistic health, and being able to identify what your talents and gifts are, to use that to add value, to use that to serve other people and others around you and in the community. And so that's what I stand for within my community, in my family, and I want to grow that.
Lenny, I think that is extremely wealthy answer, if I may take the words from you myself, because generational wealth is extremely important. I think that's one of the best answers I've heard on this podcast so far when I've come to that question. And the reason why I say that is probably why we connect so well initially, is because I always like to tell people that I want to help people live a rich and satisfying life. And rich does not mean wealthy as in money or cash. It means that you have experiences, people in your life, and a lot of different things like that. And for you to have that kind of impact and inspire, the next couple generations of your family, and say, hey, look, this is where I came from. This is where I'm at now. I became a doctor. I have my PhD in psychology. And now I've built an app, and I'm working with, executives in corporate America and helping them develop and change their lives, which is probably going to impact other people's lives around them. So you're having this, what I call the compound, impact or effect. It's like money in the bank. It builds compound interest. So I want to thank you for that, and it's a wonderful answer. Here's the other one of my last questions that I'll ask you before I turn it over to you. And the big question I like to ask everybody is what will be your ripple effect? So there's a quote by Mother Teresa, and she said that you can something to the effect of, you can cast a stone into the water, and it will create a ripple effect, or you can cast stones in the water and it'll create several ripple effects. Mm-hmm. What will be that stone that you cast in the water and create a ripple effect? Will it be your family, your community, across generations? What will that be for you?
Letting everyone know that they are creators. Mm-hmm. We miss that. We don't live up to that you're a creator, I'm a creator. The creator who created us has instilled in us the same traits, the same abilities to create, to heal, mm-hmm. right? To design our world. So I want to live that ripple effect like you're a creator. We're creators. We're created in his image. We are creators ourselves. And so that's the ripple effect I want to leave behind. Because if you can empower somebody to think on their own, to realize the power that is between their ears, that, Kirby, is powerful. Because lives will be changed. Our world will be changed because people are going to become independent forces that can't be messed with.
Hey, Lenny, this has been great. I'm not even gonna talk after that. You have an extremely powerful message that you're bringing us today. And so tell us that anything that you may not have said that you would like to say, that you would like to add, and then tell us how we can find you or connect with you.
Yes. Jim Rohn has a very good quote that says, you can't pay anyone else to do your push-ups for you. To bring it back around, Kirby, we have to do the work. We have to roll up our sleeves like my grandmother taught me, like my mother taught me in the marketplace. Roll up your sleeve and get it done. You have to apply yourself. Opportunities going to come your way, but if you're not prepared for it, you won't take advantage of it. And the morning routine actually is a stepping stone to preparing you so you're ready for any opportunity. You're able to see it, because if you're not in the right mindset, somebody else who in that mindset will take the opportunity from you. So that's the last thing I want to share is preparation, preparing and doing the work so that you're ready. Always be ready. And so the best way to connect with me is on my website, lunidelouis.com. It is spelled LUNIDE LOUIS.com. I do have the podcast. It's on all the platforms where you're listening to this. It's on there as well: YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. It's called The Best Morning Routine Ever, as with the pillow says back here. And of course, the morning routine app. Um, Hit savers, 9 actionable items done in 9 minutes to improve the quality of your day and your life.
Lunide, thank you for sharing your message and your story with us today. I really do appreciate sharing your time, because that's even more valuable than anything else that you could offer to us, because I think time is one of those things that you cannot replace, and it is probably the most valuable commodity that we do have that we could share with other people. And so I know that you've impacted other people on this show and others that are listening. And so again, I want to thank you. And you can find all those things that Lunide mentioned in the show description. And until next time, Lunide, thank you.
Thank you, Kirby.